A judge temporarily halts installation of gas regulators if a homeowner says no. The latest on the class action lawsuit against BGE. Former Police Commissioner Michael Harrison speaking out in a new op-ed how he's reflecting on his time leading the department as other city safety agencies see change.
And a code red air quality alert now in effect for tomorrow. We are under weather alert. I'm going to let you know how bad it's going to get and when it gets better, and if it's in time for your July 4th plans and my Weather Authority forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
BG&E is held to a higher standard. They're a public utility. They're a monopoly. We don't have any options but to get our gas service and electricity from them. When they conduct themselves this way, they have to understand that the law is going to respond.
Those words from outside Baltimore City Circuit Court today as a judge sides with Baltimore residents in the ongoing battle with BGE and its project to install external gas regulators. A temporary pause was granted. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. In court today, a judge also ordering the utility company to immediately turn back on gas service for residents who have refused to comply. Fox 45's Amy Simpson was at that emergency hearing today. She has the very latest.
We've watched this play out in the court of public opinion, and today this battle made its way inside of a Baltimore courtroom. A win today for Baltimore residents. A judge granting a temporary restraining order in a class action lawsuit against BGE's project to install external gas regulators outside thousands of homes.
BG&E is not permitted to install an exterior regulator over the objection of anyone in Baltimore City, and they can't turn off or threaten to turn off gas service if someone so declines.
BGE maintains the utility work is to improve safety, moving gas meters outside instead of inside homes. Also meant to speed up gas delivery across Baltimore.
This is the justice we were seeking.
But residents started pushing back. Their attorney today arguing this is about profits, not safety, alleging BGE has been coercing residents to agree to the construction, not knowing their rights.
This is the kind of bully that we're dealing with.
Homeowners and residents gathered grassroots style in recent months.
Nobody here wanted to learn as much as we've learned about external and internal installations, believe me. But it started small groups scattered across the city that came together.
These women, referring to themselves as the Fed Hill Three, spent the night in central booking after intentionally blocking utility crews last week. It all played out on live TV as the three were arrested and loaded into the back of a police van.
We're ecstatic.
Yeah, I think this is the justice we were seeking on Thursday.
Fight for the rights of all of Baltimore's citizens so that a predatory company does not roll over the rights of the people.
You shouldn't have to go to jail to fight for justice. This is the way it's supposed to have been done, in a courtroom, in a court of law, with arguments on both sides.
The judge today deciding Baltimore residents provided proof of irreparable harm due to gas service shutoffs for some in Federal Hill and citing the historic neighborhoods impacted by the construction.
Irreparable harm, not just from losing their precious foundations and facades to a drill, but also losing their gas service, so they can't cook or clean or take a shower. That is what BG&E was threatening them with.
BGE's attorneys did not address cameras outside of the courthouse. Today, the company instead writing, "This important work has been reviewed and approved by the Maryland Public Service Commission, was granted a permit by Baltimore City, and is in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and BGE standards. BGE continues to believe that this work is in the best interest of our customers and community safety. BGE, however, will comply with the court's decision and will not continue the installation of external gas regulators unless directed otherwise by the Maryland Public Service Commission."
We won the battle, but the war is still to be fought.
This temporary restraining order now lasts for 10 days. The judge did tell BGE today that its argument these external regulators are for safety must be proven in an evidentiary hearing. The next court date scheduled for July 10th. In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
The Maryland Public Safety Commission, which oversees BGE, released a statement saying the judge's temporary restraining order does not constitute a citywide halt to BGE's outdoor gas regulator installation program. However, while the temporary restraining order is in place, BGE may not relocate or install gas regulators outdoors at single-family residential dwellings without the customer's consent. Where gas service has been terminated based on a dispute with BGE over the relocation of gas regulators outdoors. For single-family residential dwellings, the company is required to immediately restore service. We are following some breaking news. The Maryland Supreme Court will hear appeals from the family of Heyman Lee and Adnan Syed on the series of competing rulings. Recently, it's about the on-again, off-again reinstatement of his murder conviction, highlighting a battle over victims' rights. Last year, Syed was released from prison when the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, under Marilyn Mosby's leadership, requested his conviction for Lee's murder be vacated. It was then reinstated after an appellate court ruled Lee's brother was not given enough notification. Arguments will be made October 5th. Developing now, we now know Stephanie Mavronis is set to become the interim director for the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, when Shantae Jackson leaves this week. Mavronis is currently overseeing MONSE's chief of staff and has been acting as the agency's second in command for the past year. She also worked on Mayor Brandon Scott's mayoral campaign and later on his communications staff at City Hall. Mayor Scott saying she has been a key player in realizing MONSE's goals, and he's confident in her leadership as he works to find a permanent replacement for Executive Director Jackson. Meanwhile, former Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison is leaving his final thoughts after stepping down as head of the department, publishing an op-ed in the Baltimore Sun today. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has a look at what's changed and what issues remain.
I have done what I came to do. That's the headline former Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison posted in his op-ed when reflecting on his time as head of the Baltimore Police Department, writing, "I promised when I was appointed that I would put the Baltimore Police Department back in the hands of Baltimore. That time has come."
Now it's time to pass the torch.
3 weeks ago, Harrison kept his comments positive and brief when he and the mayor announced his departure and replacement, now acting Commissioner Rich Worley.
We'll follow the model that the commissioner brought.
Now, in this op-ed, Harrison reflecting on what he says he was up against when taking on the role of commissioner back in 2019. A lack of public trust due to rogue officers and Freddie Gray's death while in the custody of police, a federally mandated consent decree, and instability from the rotation of leaders both at City Hall and at BPD. Harrison writing, "For all these reasons, I said yes." Harrison then delving into his crime-fighting approach, touting the success of his community-based policing model and comprehensive violence reduction strategy with statistics, a 16% reduction in violent crime and 21% reduction in property crime since becoming commissioner. And as he exits, a 21% reduction in murder and 24% reduction in shootings compared to this time last year. Still, Harrison writing, "I have heard the concerns that violence reduction, especially as it pertains to homicides, hasn't happened fast enough. I share those frustrations."
I don't think much progress has been made on the crime fighting front. We're just 6 months into the year, and we're in the year following a record high year. So you are going to see fluctuation. You are going to see pullbacks.
In the op-ed, Harrison then speaking to new technology and improved working conditions with new facilities for officers and progress with the federal consent decree.
The history book is written on his 4 years as commissioner that there was a lot of focus on consent decree compliance.
Harrison leaving the city with a promise and a thank you, writing, "I remain a Baltimore resident committed to the success of this department and to the success and growth of our city. Thank you so much for this blessing of allowing me to be a part of the greatest comeback story in America." Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
A code orange air quality alert in effect tonight, and we're told it's going to get worse. Take a look at the smoke that has moved into the Baltimore area. On the left, footage from this morning of the Inner Harbor and Towson, and on the right, a live look right now, conditions outside. The haze we're dealing with tonight is once again the result of those massive wildfires in Canada. Let's go right to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with the latest on air quality alerts. Jonathan?
Yeah, and Mary, you got it. Code orange air quality alert for the remainder of tonight. But tomorrow we upgrade that, or maybe downgrade it, we should say, to a code red air quality alert. If you remember, it had been something like 17 years since we'd seen a code red around here until early June. Now we're seeing another one in the same month. So how about that? Now, the unhealthy to hazardous air quality conditions are right on the doorstep, and they're beginning to move in. So by early tomorrow morning, that's when I think it'll be the worst. And that's when we have our code red for the entire population. You need to spend some extra time inside. Gradually getting better Friday into the weekend. I'm going to be planning all the way into July 4th in a couple of minutes.
Well, today marks 5 years since the Capitol Gazette shooting in Annapolis. The governor, Anne Arundel County leaders, and members of the community came together earlier today for a wreath-laying ceremony. The event honoring the 5 people killed during an attack on the paper's newsroom back in 2018. Former employees from the Gazette telling FOX45 they are touched that the community came out to show their support, while at the same time calling for lawmakers to do more to stop gun violence.
Yeah, destroyed our newsroom and took my editor and comrades. And unfortunately, it continues on and on and on again until hopefully at some point members of the U.S. Senate will grow a backbone and do what's needed.
The gunman has been sentenced to life in prison. Officials have identified the fallen firefighter from St. Mary's County as Bryce Trosbach. He died when the floor beneath him caved during a house fire yesterday. His body was transferred from the medical examiner's office in Baltimore back to southern Maryland in an emotional procession spanning the state. This was the moment the ambulance arrived back in Leonardtown with his colleagues saluting. Departments along the route participated, and so did residents, pausing. This is the first line-of-duty death in the county, and the reason you may have noticed flags at half-staff in Maryland per a governor's order.
President Biden trying to turn around sentiment on the economy. I'm Atral Nashar with what Bidenomics means for the labor market.
President Biden also delivering a speech in Chicago today on what he's calling Bidenomics, pointing to the strong labor market as the foundation of his economic progress. But critics say his claims about job creation are exaggerated. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar joins us live from Washington with a closer look at some of these numbers. Good evening, Atra.
Good evening, Mary. Through all the headaches of high inflation and supply chain bottlenecks, it's been the strong labor market that the president's really been able to consistently hang his hat on. But as strong as it is, there's more work to do.
For President Biden, 13 million is a magic number.
We created 13.4 million new jobs, more jobs in 2 years than any president has ever made in 4.
Looking at raw numbers, this is true, but the majority of those were recovered from job cuts during the pandemic. What hasn't fully recovered is the overall labor force participation rate driven by people over 55.
We still have a very high, elevated job openings number. I think a lot of that is because that one population that probably would have been filling those jobs for a couple more years went ahead and retired and didn't seem to re-engage after that.
There are currently 2 million more people with jobs than there were in February 2020, according to an analysis of Labor Department data by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Though pandemic job recovery played out much faster than the Congressional Budget Office predicted, Republicans argue the president shouldn't get credit for it. Instead, they say workers and businesses are worse off than they were before Biden took office.
He's made inflation up by all of his new regulations. He's made it more competitive, less competitive for us.
And point to how Americans feel. An AP NORC poll out Wednesday shows just 34% of adults approve of the president's handling of the economy. In the eyes of members of the Federal Reserve, whose top priority is fighting inflation, the labor market is almost too strong.
Jobs are being created, there's strong wage gains, and that's driving spending, driving real incomes and driving spending, which is driving more demand and continuing to drive labor markets.
Now, as inflation comes down, the unemployment rate is expected to go up. Right now, it's 3.7%. The Fed projects that'll be in the neighborhood of 4.4% by the end of 2024, which would still be historically low. But, Mary, some are doubtful it'll even get that high, as companies are still struggling for workers, and even if there's a bit of a slowdown, might be reluctant to lay them off.
Interesting. Audrey, you just spoke with Jared Bernstein, chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. What is he saying about addressing the labor shortage?
He says it's really about two things, education and immigration. With education, it's about training this future workforce to make sure that there are bodies to fill these jobs that will be created through legislation like the CHIPS and Science Act, right? So making sure there are people who can work machines to make these semiconductors as we move supply chains out of China. And then on immigration, legal immigration, which absolutely plummeted during the pandemic, though census data shows it did pick up in 2022 a bit, is still nowhere near where a lot of sectors like healthcare and agriculture would like it to be.
All right, Atra El-Nashar reporting for us from D.C. tonight. Thank you.
All right, well, taking a look at our Fox Triplecast this evening, what you notice most, a little bit of haze on the Mile 1 Taos Cam, Toyota Shida Harbor Sky Cam. Really, our latest weather maker is, in fact, high pressure. It's fair weather, which is usually pretty good. But this is coming out of Canada, and winds out of the north and west out of Canada this year have been bringing us this during the spring and summer. The bad air quality from the Canadian wildfire smoke, from the Canadian wildfires, which are still going and out of control. So a code red air quality alert is once again in effect after a brief respite from some of this during the middle of the month. And now we're back at it once again. With the bad air quality. You can see way up here toward Hudson's Bay, that's where most of the fires are. Then the winds out of the north and northwest conduit that smoke, that gray, all the way down into portions of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and then wrap it around toward us. So we have unfortunately downgraded that air quality to the unhealthy for really all groups, all general public groups on Thursday. After a code orange day today, we're at code red for tomorrow. We return back to the code orange, the unhealthy for sensitive groups on the day Friday. But tomorrow is going to be worse, and it means that everybody has to spend some extra time inside. That means close those windows. Unfortunately, the weather's not going to be bad. So you'd want to be out there, but it's just not going to be safe nor healthy, even for the general public. So spend some extra time inside and reschedule those plans inside if they were outside. So showers and thunderstorms with a cold front moving east. That's what kind of brought in the smoke today. And then there's more rain around Indianapolis, denoting another wind shift change down to the south and southwest, which will help to evict all of this. But until then, next couple of days, we're under that big blue H, and that means fair weather, but also this. You see the haze now in the Mile 1000 cam, 80, winds out of the, there it is, west-northwest at 13. Humidity levels nice and low. Actually, the temperatures today, only 80 to 85. Dry, beautiful, just that air quality, not very good. And it looks like as those yellows still persist into tonight and tomorrow, you see them trying to waft in from the north and west on our future scan smoke. That will continue to degrade that air quality to that code red level. Things will begin to get better, though, as we head into Friday. I'm going to let you know what the concerns are, though, as we head into the July 4th holiday weekend. My exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Severe storms rolled through Maryland on Tuesday. This viewer captured the intensity of rainfall and lightning in one shot. Smoke is clogging skies in many states, including here in Michigan, as well as in Pennsylvania. And check out this rosy maple moth. The small, colorful moth is found along the eastern U.S. and in Canada. As their name suggests, they're often found in maple trees.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
A new bill in Texas sparking some controversy around the state. The bill would allow chaplains to be employed at public schools. Matt Roy from our Sinclair sister station in San Antonio has a look at the debate.
Governor Greg Abbott's pen has been busy signing bills into law. One of them has caught the eye of numerous organizations around the country.
Chaplains being invited into public schools, to allow chaplains into our public schools.
Chaplains acting as school counselors.
Senate Bill 763 was passed along party lines in both chambers of the Texas legislature. The bill does not require schools to have a chaplain. It gives school districts the choice to employ a chaplain or accept volunteer chaplains on public school campuses to, quote, provide support, services, and programs for students. School boards have the option to vote yes or no for a policy, but they are required to vote on a policy by March of 2024.
The chaplaincy programs are at a severe risk of violating the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, as well as key provisions of the Texas Constitution.
Organizations like the ACLU of Texas have sent a letter to all school boards in the state asking them to vote no on these policies.
SB 763 would create an unconstitutional, untenable situation.
They say the bill would alienate students whose religion is not the majority or religiously indoctrinate students.
I think it's hypocritical, especially with school districts who are trying very hard to indoctrinate kids with LGBT ideology, with woke indoctrination.
Policy director of the right-leaning Texas Values Organization thinks the bill is a step forward and praises legislators for getting it passed.
There are always bad actors, but I think the majority of chaplains just want to help kids, and they want to help them in their academic learning, and I think that's what they're going to do.
Your exclusive 10-day forecast includes a weather alert day for smoke, haze, and poor air quality. Code red day for tomorrow, for Thursday. Spend extra time inside. 89 degrees, 90. Humidity increases, maybe a shower storm threat later Friday. That should clean out the air, making for better air quality over the weekend, but it's unsettled. Could have some spot showers and storms at least, both Saturday and Sunday. Gradually drying out to just an isolated shower storm by July 4th on Tuesday. And then the remainder of the week looking kind of hot, kind of humid. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week.
Jonathan, thank you. Finally, tonight, Port Discovery unveiled a brand new exhibit today. It is called The Playhouse. The new theater exhibit is an interactive and immersive space that includes a stage, puppet theater, costumes, and props. The new space is on the first floor of Port Discovery and is open right now. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud's up next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight.